This conference will now be recorded.
Hi guys, good evening to everyone. In today's session, we are going to talk about literals and data types. In the last class, we had discussed about literals are constants, and we had introduction to different types of constants in Scala, like character constants, numeric and Boolean constants, all the different types of constants. Today, continuing to the yesterday's session, I will add few more constants or literals. Generally, we can call constants as literals also. We can call constants as literals also. So we'll just see what are the different types of literals are available in Scala. We know about character, and we had discussed yesterday. We have both single character and string, and you know very well. And you know about numeric. That is, we have two types of numeric constants: integer and decimal, and Boolean, true or false. Simple, we didn't discuss. Also, we didn't discuss about multi-line strings, null values, and escape values. Today, we will discuss about all this and just move to the data type topic. And we'll start discussing data types. I hope this is clear for all of you, right? Are you ready for this now? So let's start with what are symbol constants in. Let's understand symbol constants. When I talk about symbol constants also can be declared as strings. They are used to declare as a string, or a string can also be declared as a symbol constant. So what's the point? A string can also be declared as a symbol constant. Okay, maybe you can ask me a question first. That question is, sir, already we have strings, again why do we need the symbol constants? I'll come back to that point, but let's understand what is a symbol constant first. So here, what is the point? Symbol constants are nothing but another way of representing strings. But the advantage is, when you declare a string as a symbol constant, we have certain advantages. That is, memory is saved. That is one thing. And also, comparison becomes easy with symbol constants. So the comparison becomes simple with the symbol constants. One, memory is saved. The advantages of symbol constants. Comparison is simple with the symbol constants. Clear? Understood now? So the point is, your comparison becomes simple and also memory is saved, and there are few more advantages, but these are the primary advantages when you are using symbol constants. Okay, and here we can declare a symbol constant in two ways. We can directly say something var space sum is equal to, it has to be having a prefix as single quote, and then we have to specify the symbol here. This is how we define a symbol constant. Also, the same thing we can declare by using a class called symbol class. We use a class called symbol class. Classes are reference types or class types. We'll talk about it when we discuss OOP in detail, object oriented programming. So when I say s equal to high, this is like declaring it as a literal. This is with the class. We can do in any ways. If you declare like this, even as a literal, this variable declaration, implicitly it is declared with symbol. Okay, we'll just test it quickly once. Suppose you see here something like I say var space sum. Excuse me. Let me increase the font size here so that you can see little bigger letters here. where space some s equal to single quote something like abcd, something like Manohar. You see that when I declare it as a symbol constant or when I declare a string like this, implicitly it is declared as a symbol type. Can you observe this? What is that? Implicitly it is declared as a symbol type. And if you see here, it's more or less, it's almost like a string. So this is another way of declaring strings in Scala. Of course, this is not that much encouraged in Scala programming. But still, even though it is not encouraged in Scala programming, but still this symbol constants are good for us to know. Now we can also declare a symbol constant like this, something like some var space, some x equal to some symbol of. We have to pass something in the form of a string here if you use symbol class. This is a symbol constructor here and you are passing your value to that. Of course, when you display again, it is prefixed with single quote here. But when you pass a value in symbol, the symbol function, then it has to be, what is that? It has to be passed in the form of a string. That is very much necessary. Is it clear for all of you? Can I get S from all of you folks? Please, any questions? Somebody is asking me a question. Sir, we have strings and symbol constants. Which is recommended to you? Should we use symbols or should we use strings? I had just discussed usage of symbols is not that much encouraged in Scala. But it's good to know. Sometimes in coding, somewhere if you find any this kind of things, you don't get confused because already you know what is that exactly. But when you discuss about strings, strings are the most used constructs in the programming, in Scala program, not only in Scala. They are very much popular in Java and C Sharp and even in Python. Anywhere, strings plays a phenomenal and a vital role there. Clear, right? So, what is your answer now? Could you tell me? Just type in the chat box. Which is best trigger symbol constants? Strings. Good. Okay, clear, right? Once after we discuss about symbol constants. So now let's talk about the next one. So symbol constant can be declared in two ways, either as a constant directly as a literal or by using this function, symbol function. Anything is fine, it's your choice. Now if you see here, after that multi-line strings. We had seen declaring strings in the yesterday's session, isn't it? We can declare strings in double quotes. That is one thing. And the other one is we can also declare single character constant in single quotes. And single character is a character type. If you declare in double quotes, it's a string type. And if you declare something in double quotes, it's a single line string. Suppose when you talk about it. So you say something like var space s equal to my name is Manohar. It is a single line string actually. Suppose if I want to go for multi-line strings, if I want to declare multi-line strings, then we can do that in Scala by using triple quotes, not double quotes. There is triple quotes also in Scala, and they comes handy for all of us. They are used like comments also. You got it right. They are used like comments also. So multi-line strings is used to declare like a paragraph or more than one line, group of lines together. That is what multi-line string is. I'll just show you an example here. I say something like var some s equal to some triple quotes. I say my name is Manohar. Okay, then enter. You can say I'm continuing. I like Scala and the triple quotes here. Can you see that? I put this multi-line string, two-line string in triple quotes, but this is not possible with double quotes because when you use double quotes, it is used to declare a single line string. Okay, here this can be used for declaring single line string, and this is used to declare multi-line string. So press enter, and you can see here, if I press enter, you can see a multi-line string is created. If I print s for one more time like this, still it is showing, it is string it internally again. You got the point? So in that way, we can declare multi-line strings in Scala. So now we had seen symbol literals and multi-line literal. Literals are constants, or values, or data. Anything is same, folks. When I say character literals, numeric literals, or boolean literals, or constants, it's same. And I hope we had a detailed analysis about all the first three in the yesterday's session. Now we are getting a clear analysis about the symbol and multi-line strings today. Okay. And the null values. What are null values in Scala? See, now anyhow, immediately you don't get an opportunity to test this null values, but when we start object-oriented programming, once we finish functional programming and switch to object-oriented programming, then you are going to observe a lot of null values, because reference types means class types uses nulls. If you ask me what is reference type, just wait for again couple of sessions until we start OOP. Any class type, remember, is reference type, or a trait type is a reference. Class or trait type is reference. So what is null here? When you talk about null, null stands for nothing. What is that? Null stands for nothing. Generally, the default value for any reference type is null. Suppose you are dealing with class types, and I am trying to initialize some default value. That is done with the null actually. If you don't provide any value, also default it takes nulls for reference types. What types? For reference types. So null is a default value for what is that? It is a default value for reference types. Reference types. Clear now? Understood or not? For example, we'll just test it like this. Something like var space s colon substring equal to null. I can initialize null here, means it is not having any value, it's just a null, that's all. You got the point, right? Now I cannot test anything on string here. I cannot find out length, or I cannot find out what is that. I cannot apply any methods on this string actually, or functions on this string. It leads to null pointer exception. Do you understand this? So even when you go to class programming,
This conference will now be recorded.
so when you go to class programming, here the reference types, we should generally set it with default values. You got it right? If you don't provide by default, they assume this as null itself for reference types or class types. Do you understand this? So this is the idea about what is this box? Null values. Is it clear now? You got an idea about nulls. Now escape sequences. Most of you know about escape sequences because you are using it number of times in the programming. Escape sequences are also literals, built-in literals, like new line, like what we call slash n. Okay, horizontal tab like slash t, horizontal tab like a slash t. Okay, similarly we can use so many like carriage return like slash r. This is called carriage return, like slash single quote, slash double quote. Okay, if you want single quote we should use this, if you want double quote we should use this, something like slash b, and like this we have many more like this. But the most popular escape sequences in any programming language are slash n and slash t, and occasionally people might use slash single quote and slash double quote, that's all. Apart from that, this carriage return, this bells, people use very rarely this slash r and r slash b. That's a very rare usage actually. We don't use it regularly in the programming. You understand that?
This conference will now be recorded.
So guys, I hope you got clarity about all this stuff, right? Got idea about escape sequences, everything here. I was talking about this, isn't it? Like new line, generally we use this just to push the cursor to the next line. Horizontal tab provides space between these letters, and slash single quote double quote already I had discussed. They are used to put add single quote and double quote in a string, and slash r is a carriage return, and slash v is a well. And I had given an analysis on these literals. Now you are good with all the literals. So that's all, guys. Any questions, guys? So no questions. So by now I think it should be clear for all of you about this. What is that? Constants. Now we'll switch to the next topic, that is data types. Hope you are ready for data types, right? So when you talk about data types, what is a data type and why do we need data types? Let's quickly understand it. So let me explain that here. So when you talk about a data type, let me increase the font size here. So 22 should be fine for us. So a data type represents what it represents. It tells about type of data we are using in a program. It tells about type of data we use in a program. And whenever we talk about a data type has a way, is a keyword. When you talk about it, it's a keyword which is used to declare variables. What is the point here? The purpose of data type is it is used to declare variables. Also, it's a keyword. So another point is a data type is a keyword used to declare variables. Okay. So that is another important point. Understood now? And also one more important thing is every data type holds fixed amount of memory. There will be a memory allocated by data type, and that is fixed for each data type. And also there will be a range with each data type. Suppose if I am using byte has just a range from -128 to 127. So another important point is a data type allocates a fixed amount of memory, and also it has a fixed range. And also I'll just continue from here, also has a fixed range. Now the question is, I think this is clear, right? Now the question is, how many data types are there in Scala? What are the classifications? That we should understand. And we know when you talk about Scala is a pure object oriented programming. When it is pure object oriented programming, everything is an object, unlike Java, C Sharp, where we have primitives like int, char, float, double, all that they are primitives. But here everything is an object. Then how this classification is done? Let's understand that. So if you want to understand it, I'll just show you how data types are categorized here. So when you talk about it, data types, they are classified into two types actually. This is actually a data type, and it has a classification. What is that classification? Data types has two types of classifications. One is value types. What is that? One is value types. The other one is reference types. So what is this? We have value types as well as we have reference types. Let me just make a note of it. We can classify data types into value types. The second one, we can classify it into reference types. Clear? Now you might ask me a question, what are value types or what are reference types? Reference types are purely, when you talk about it, these are, when you say that, these are purely of class type or trait type. What is that? These are something like a class type, or you can say trait, trait type. So these are reference types. Then what are value types then? When I say something is a value type, it means they are used to declare values. They are more or less like primitives in other languages like C, C++, C Sharp or Java. In such languages, they are called as primitives. You got this point, right? So now let's just make a note of it here. When you take this, these are primitives type, like primitive type in sense we don't have primitives in Scala. Why? Because everything is object in Scala. Okay, everything is object oriented. So there is no point like to bring in the word primitive, but just to understand it, it's something like primitives. I'm just pitching in that word. Okay, but don't explain anywhere in interviews that primitives all this stuff. He'll throw you out of the interview room. Okay. So these are similar to primitives. Similar to what? Similar in sense they are not primitives. Similar to primitives in Java or C Sharp or C or C++. You got it right. Anyhow, we will see the a total hierarchy here, the detailed hierarchy of data types in Scala. Then you understand a better idea here. If you see this, okay. Let me just show you that. So the identifiers here, not this one. I'm sorry. Scala types. This is from the official Scala documentation. This diagram comes from Scala official document. See here, we can see the classification of these data types into two, and you can see it starts with something called a root class any. Because as Scala is a pure object oriented programming, everything is a class. I mean, everything is an object. I'm sorry. And here, any is a root class or parent class of all these value types as well as reference types. For all reference types, the parent is any ref, and for all value types, the parent is any val. You got this point, right? So, and here, if you look at this, we had discussed about data types in the yesterday's session while discussing about identifiers. Of course, I just briefed them. Today, I will explain all these data types in detail. Value types. Reference types, we can talk about it later when I start discussing classes and objects. Okay. So, I think this is clear, right? And if you see value types, any val is the parent for all the value types, any ref is the parent for all reference types. And as I had discussed null values, all reference has a default value null. And all value types has a default value nothing. If you don't initialize, they return nothing. Nothing means, as name says, nothing. It won't give you anything. That's nothing. Even null is also a type of nothing here. Understood or not? No? Even reference types can be nothing because you can see it is subclass with nothing. You understand this? These are all classes. Everything what you observe, nothing is a class, null is a class, list is a class, everything is a class. But the difference is the left side hierarchy belong to the value classes and value types. I'm sorry, value types. The right side belongs to the reference types. These are used to declare values exclusively, some type of values like integers, decimals, boolean like that. These are used to create objects. The right side hierarchy is used to create objects that any reference and its kits are used to define values, and any value and its kits they are used to declare values. Values means something like numbers, something like true or false boolean, something like character, something like strings. I don't think you get confused here. You got clarity? If you want to provide values, use the left side hierarchy. If you want something like objects, use right side thing. Of course, maybe you can ask me a question. You told us both are objects. Again, you are saying that this is for values and that is for objects. Yes, objects hold data again. When you say about object, when you talk about an object, object holds data. Again, these values can be inside object, present inside object. That is the point here. Objects are little containers. They can have hold more data. Value can hold just one scalar value. You understand this here? Values are more or less like a scalar type where they can just hold only one value, whereas objects are vector, they can hold more values. A group of values can be present in vector. That's objects. And the default for objects is null. Also, it can be nothing. And the default for value types is nothing here. Okay. You don't need to break your head at this point because we can test all this with practical examples as we are doing from the very beginning sessions. But for all this, the parent is any. When I use any reference means we are dealing with objects as parent. If I use any val means we are dealing with values. If I say any means it can be a value or it can be a reference. Got it right. But you can ask me a question. Could you just show us what this any all this has? See, when I talk about any, it is the root class of all classes actually. Even these are also classes, but they are value types. They are just used for declaring values. So there are certain functions in this one actually. When you talk about which one? When you talk about any has some built-in functions. What is that? I'm just talking about any. So if I talk about any class, it has certain built-in functions like equals, okay, hash code, and then get class. Many more like that. Okay, you don't need to worry about it. Dot dot dot. There are certain functions. And these functions are very common for all these value type classes and reference type classes. Okay, what is the point here? These are common for this. Any is common for which one? Any is common. These functions are common for value types as well as for reference types. You got it right. And I'll show you a detailed analysis. You don't need to. What is that? Get confused at this stage. Is it clear now? This is very beginning. You don't need to worry because once we go a little deeper into Scala, because these sessions, whatever we are discussing, are deeper understanding of Scala. Definitely, I'll make you very much comfortable in terms of coding as well as to crack your interviews also. In terms of interview point of view, we have a detailed discussion. Probably that gives you good confidence to all of you. Okay. Is it fine to all of you folks? Are you following? Can I get an S from all of you? I think I am trying to repeat it couple of times because so that it will be very clear for you and it's easy for you to remember also. Okay, when I just repeat it for a couple of times, I know when we are doing this, you have to be very clear and you have to get that concept in the class itself. That's how you have to prepare something and also make notes of all these things. Okay. Now we'll talk about what is that value types first. So this discussion about any and any val, any reference, it happens in the little later sessions, in the coming sessions, when we start OOP about classes and objects. But now when you are doing functional programming, understanding these fundamental units are very important. Okay, I am not saying about units. All these are, each one is an unit. That gives you a good idea for all of you to write some code, isn't it? So shall I switch my topic now? Shall I switch topic to the data types? Now, I was talking about data type and I told you data type, what is the purpose of this? It tells about data and type. Okay, what data you are using and what is that type? Suppose I just list out couple of things. Is it clear, right? This is clear for all of you or not? Understood, no? Right. So now I'm just talking about data types in detail now. Let me just data types. First thing, number one, as I had discussed this few points here, they stay, they are same, they don't change actually, okay? They stay same. It's a keyword, they are keywords. Okay, are classes here. Of course, one thing I should correct is in Scala, they are not keywords, they are built-in classes. I'm sorry, I should correct this point. What is that? They are built-in classes. So a data type is a, in other languages like like C, C++, Java, C Sharp, we can tell them they are keywords. But in Scala, a data type is a class in Scala. That too, they are value types. The class in Scala, that too class in Scala, and they are, what is that? Value types. Means value, mean by value types, they are used to represent, what is that? Values. Okay, of course it tells about data. That's the point. It's clear for you. And it has fixed amount of memory, and also it has a range that we see for each and every data type. And the parent, immediate parent of all these value types is, what is that? The parent of all value types is any val. Okay, any val is parent or super class for all this, parent class for all value types. Keep in mind, okay, it might be handy for you in some interviews. And any val is a class. You can see each word starting letter is uppercase. That is the standard naming standard for all the classes. Suppose you have multiple words in a class name, every word starting letter must be uppercase when you declare a class. Remember this point. Is it clear now? Understood, folks? Can I get an S from all of you? I think you are not feeling bored, right? Oh, that's, thank you for the compliment. No, sir, we are really getting clear analysis about it. Please continue like this. Thank you so much. So now let's summarize all the data types now. Let's summarize data first because we know about data now. So if you talk about data, we have single character. I'll just make it simple for you. And we have string, and we have numeric data type, that is integer. I'm just breaking down. I am taking the low level hierarchy now, low level classification, not the high level. Both the single character and string belong to character constants or character data. Okay, and integer and decimal belong to numeric data. But I'm classifying it at low level so that it's easy for you to understand. And then Boolean. Okay, these are major value types actually. These are major value types. If you look at the hierarchy, it will be very clear here. And one more is unit. I'll talk about unit at the end, okay? One more is, what is that, folks? One more is unit here. Let me just put here unit. Unit we'll discuss at the end, okay? Unit is something like void in other languages like C, C++, Java, C Sharp. It's generally used as a return type to a function. It does nothing again. But the point is that if you don't return anything, we return unit, like in other languages like C, C++, Java, C Sharp, traditional languages. Okay, understood now about unit? Clear? So next after that, let's have an analysis. What is unit type of data? Okay, we'll discuss about it later. Now let's focus on all this data. This is data, and another important thing. To declare data in a program, there must be a data type. If not you, the interpreter will declare that. Might be you will be in a opinion. What is that? Sir, I didn't use any data type, still it's working fine for us, sir. You feel happy for that. Yes. But even though you didn't mention the data type, your interpreter mentions data type, isn't it? When we see at scale of shell, when you declare a variable, immediately under that it will show the data type also, isn't it? That shows a clear point. Every data has a data type. Now let's have a detailed analysis here. Okay. So now when you talk about data type here, every data has fixed data types in programming. For example, for single character, we have data types. Data type is nothing but a class type here. They are classes, not keywords, as I corrected it just now. I put here as a what is that? Keyword in my document here. It's not keyword, gentlemen. I am erasing this. It's a class. Please excuse me for the generally, in all other languages it's keyword, but here it is a class because everything is object in Scala. To declare single character, we use a data type called char, and this has a memory, fixed memory, and range also. We'll talk about it. And to declare string, we have a data type called string itself, but no memory. We don't have idea about the size of memory actually. And then also there is no specific range for string. It happens only for string. For integer, the data type is we have four data types to declare integer in Scala. One is byte, the other one is short, and then int, and then long. So these are the different data types used to declare integer in Scala. And decimal, we can declare decimal with the float and double. Okay, is it clear for all of you? Now, when you talk about char and boolean, when you talk about boolean, to declare boolean, that is true or false, there is a data type called boolean itself. All these are classes. These are similar to wrapper classes in Java and C#. They have primitives in Java. The object version of Java are wrappers, and here they are directly data types in Scala. If you don't declare, your interpreter will declare that. Next, size. Once we know the data type, then we should know the size. You just need to remember all this. That's all. Okay. Somebody is asking me a question. Should we remember the sizes and ranges, all this stuff, because we don't have data type? Yes, understanding the having a thorough understanding about fundamentals is very much necessary. Otherwise, when you start doing bigger programming, these fundamentals are very useful for you. Suppose I want to go for type conversion. If I go for type conversion, understanding these data types is very important, sir. Clear? You should have a clear idea about data types. Then only it's easy for you, sir. Clear? So, what I can tell you is that be good with the basics. Many people get confused while doing coding. They don't have proper, skill on or proper grip on coding actually because they are weak in fundamentals. And trust me, if you can fix that problem, then definitely you will be a very good programmer. Understood? Now let's talk about the size. The size of char is 2 bytes, that is 16 bits. You know what is bits, right? Zeros and ones. Okay. And the range, let me talk about the range. Range means max and min values. The range of the char is 0 to 65,535. What is that? 0 to 65,535. Means altogether we have 65,536 values. Clear, right? That is the range of char here. But string don't have a size. Don't expect size for string. No size. Also, don't expect range for string because we have infinite strings. What can I tell you about the range? But for char, we can use from 0 to 65,535. Somebody is asking me a question. What is that, Vijay? Sir, you told character is something like alphabet, symbols, words, and digits, but here you are saying range is completely in numbers. Then what is this, sir? Folks, when you talk about When we talk about character type of data, even though we declare some alphabets or some words, some special symbols, but at memory in programming, when you just execute the code, internally every character is a number. Every character is a number, is a digit. Means actually this character has something called Unicodes. What is that character has? It has something like Unicode. Unicode is nothing but an integer representation of your character, which is used to substitute your symbols, that alphabets in the programming. You understand that? So these codes are provided by the Scala people. Even Java also uses Unicode. Even C Sharp uses Unicode. Even Python uses Unicode. But C and C++ uses ASCII, because for C and C++, char is 8-bit representation. ASCII is 8-bit, whereas Unicode is 16-bit. You want this clearly? So that's why every character is an integer internally. Don't get confused here. It's very simple. Even though you give some alphabets at program level, they get converted to integers. They get converted to zeros and ones. That's how it happens. Is it clear now? Another question is coming from students. Sir, strings are also characters, right? Does Unicode is applied for string? Why not? Every character again in the string gets converted to Unicode, and something happens in that process there. But you need to understand up to some level. You don't need to worry about it. And also one more thing, you can declare a character like this. I'll just write at the bottom of this, okay? We can declare where some s equal to, say character means single quotes, string means double quotes, you know, right? Some a like this. This is value. This is normal representation. Also, I can declare a character in Unicode form, that is, we have to use slash use and triple x, 4x. This is what hexadecimal form. Hexadecimal means where we can use 0 to 9 digits and alphabets A to Z. This is hexa. Sorry, I'm sorry. A to F. I'm really sorry. A to F means we have hexa means 16. 0 to 9 are what is that? Alpha. I mean digits. And A to F. A to F means A means 10. B means 11. C means 12. And D means 13. And E means 14. And F means 15. So these are all hexa 0 to 9, and you can declare a character, single character like this, directly like this, or you can also have Unicode form, but we don't regularly use Unicode. We generally use normal form only. Okay. So if you want, you can test it quickly once. Suppose I'll just show you something like where some s equal single quotes. Yeah, that's fine. Where some s equal to single quote slash u, something like FAC. Do you think this is valid or invalid? Yes. FAC within the range of 0 to 15, that is A to F. Okay, if you take outside that range, actually 0 to 15, you get error. You can see it's showing some question mark. Suppose here instead of E, I put some X. Is X a hexadecimal character? No, I had clearly just mentioned here. I have explained here clearly. It is 0 to 9 and A to F. That's all. You cannot have X here. Enter what it's saying. Can you see? Immediately it's throwing in error. And it's clearly saying error in Unicode escape. You understand this? So that's about Unicode. Unicode means it's a 16-bit representation of a character, and also we can represent it in two forms. One is a normal form and a Unicode form. And this Unicode advantage is it's supported by throughout the world actually. I'm sorry, throughout the world. So, and it supports any type of language. That is the advantage of Unicode. So we can write code in Scala in any language like in Java. Nowadays, you know, the language barrier in programming languages are also being almost reduced, isn't it or not? So that's the idea about this. I think I have given a clear analysis about char here, right? Understood? And the way you declare it is you have. I told you the syntax 3 when I discuss about variables in the last couple of sessions, in the previous sessions. So if you want explicitly, you can declare this data type. Otherwise, implicitly they use this. Okay. How do you explicitly declare this? Something like this. What is that? Something like var space some s colon some char equal to in single quote some 5. Now this 5 is not a digit; it's a character. Okay. Do you understand this? Is it clear or not now? Anyhow, I'll just show you about this. That should be fine, not a problem, not a big problem. I'll show you the conversion. When I talk about type conversion, I'll show you this also. Are you good so far? So finally, what is that? Character accepts only positive values. The only unsigned data type in Scala is a character. Unsigned means only accepts positives. So the only unsigned data type, only unsigned data type in Scala is char. And means unsigned means only positive. Positive, it takes only positive values. Signed means it takes positive and negative values. All other data types are signed except which one? Char. Okay. Clear now? All numeric type data types. Not talking about Boolean. If you ask me about Boolean, they take just true and false. That's all. Clear, right? I'm talking about numeric data types or character data types, not Boolean. Okay. Now suppose you can test it once. Suppose I try to give some negative value here. I'll give something like -1 here. Enter. Can I give like this or can we have two? Actually not possible. Suppose I give directly like this, still it's showing an error. Identifier expected but it is a literal false. Suppose I give 1, it takes that. I give some 65, still it will see 65 is converted to A because why? It is a unique code. When I give 65, 65 is within the range of 0 to 65,535, isn't it or not? Still char accepts that also. We can give a character value as alphabet or we can give it as a number, but that number should be within range of 0 to 65,535. But suppose I give a negative for this, negative, then it won't take it. It's an error. Can you see that? Understood now? That's a clear point that it won't accept negative values. Next after that. So let me just move. Shift to the next topic. I had given enough information for character now. Understood? Integer is used to represent what is that? Numbers without fraction, and we have byte. All these are same, but the difference is size and range. Byte has a size of 1 byte and range is -128 to 127. Short has a size of 2 bytes and it has a range -32,767 to 32,768. And it has a size of what is that? 4 bytes. And it has a range -2 power 31 to 2 power 31 minus 1. It's easy to remember like this, something like 2 to the power of. When you have 4 bytes, in that 4 bytes, if you convert it to bits, it is 32 bits. In that 32 bits, 1 bit is a sign bit. You exclude that sign bit. You don't need to consider a sign bit here. Then you have 31 bits. Then calculate range for 31 bits because sign bit doesn't come into the value part. Okay, you can do the same for remaining even byte and short also. For this, you can show something like -2 power 7 to 2 power 7 minus 1. You can also represent like this. Exclude that sign bit. For this, it is a minus 2 power 15 to 2 power 15 minus 1. Is it clear now? For long, it will be 8 bytes. 8 bytes means how much? 64 bits. In that, exclude 1, then it becomes 63. Then the range is minus 2 power 63 to 2 power 63 minus 1. Now, don't put to the power of 63 minus 1. So, to the base, you have to substitute from base, not from power. Okay, I think this is clear for all of you, right? This is idea about what is that integer constants and their ranges. But don't apply the same process for decimal. The range of decimal is a bit different from integer, and this won't. And this kind of 2 to the power of something is not applicable for decimal, float, and double. So to declare decimal, we use 2 data types. Of course, to declare integer, we use 4 data types: byte, short, int, and long. And the most popular is int here. Excuse me. Okay, and their ranges and their sizes you can see here. Just remember this. And decimal, to declare decimal, we have 2 data types: float and double. They are used to declare numbers with fraction, and the size of float is what is the size of float? 4 bytes. And the range is minus 3.4 e minus 38 to 3.4 e plus 38. And double is 8 bytes again. And the range of double is 1.7 e minus 308 to 1.7 e plus 308. Clear, right? This is about range of a double here. And
This conference will now be recorded.
so guys, you got clarity about the size of decimals, right? Float and double, and the range of float and double. Now when you talk about Boolean don't have a size, and Boolean is used to represent true or false, isn't it? So no size, and the range is just true or false. These two are built in literals. They has to be in lowercase. I told this in the yesterday's session. Understood now? So this is all about data types, value types, and their sizes and their ranges, and what data we have, and what literals we have. To declare each type of literals, what data types we use here. And we had seen the hierarchy of data types starting from the root class, that is any. Any has two childs, any val and any reference. Any reference is parent of all reference types, whereas any val is of reference parent of all value types. And any is parent for both val and reference, that is any val and any reference. Value types are used to declare what is that? Value types are used to represent values, whereas reference types are used to represent objects. We'll talk about it. I think this is clear for all of you. And we had seen everything. To declare single character, we use a char class. And to declare string, we use string class. To declare integer, we use byte or short or int or long. But int and long are more popular. And to declare decimal, we use float and double. And all these are fixed values. This sizes, this ranges, they are fixed actually. So when they are fixed, so the point is simple. What is that? You have to remember them. I told you just actually somebody asked me, I had given answer also. It is good to remember when to understand conversion process everything. Okay. And finally, we had seen couple of things about character representation. One is normal representation and Unicode representation. Unicode is a hexadecimal form where it will use 15 characters, 16 characters, 0 to 9 and A to F, where we have values for each of this. And it's the only unsigned data type we have in Scala, which takes only positive values. We had seen with examples what happens if I give negative value to that. Clear, right? Then let's talk about unit here. When I talk about unit, unit is a data type which is declared with functions. The purpose of unit is it doesn't return anything. If you don't return any value, then put unit there. So it is used to declare as a return type to a function when a function or a method doesn't return any value. When a function or a method doesn't return what is that any value. Okay. If you don't use that also nothing happens. Still implicitly they return unit. Nothing to worry about it. Okay. We'll see that when we move to the functions. But now just remember it. Okay. You got clarity about all the data types, right? And the syntax for data type is like this. Already we know the syntax. We had discussed the syntax look like this, something like where or val. I told you in the previous classes, either you can declare a variable with where or val. Just could you answer what is the difference between val and var? Please type in the chat box. All of you, please. Every one of you, not just one or two. So var is mutable, val is a immutable. Very good. So here I say var space some var name, syntax look like this, colon data type, okay, equal to some value. Similarly, if you want or, you can also declare data type with val also, something like this val. Okay, so for example, suppose I want to declare an integer value without fraction, something like var space some a colon some int equal to some 10. Okay, so this is how I can declare a variable. Suppose I want a character value. How do I declare a character? Var space some ch colon char equal to in single quote something like this. If I want int, I should declare like this. If I want byte, suppose I'll go with an order. First character, then suppose I want a byte value, I can just give like this. But I cannot exceed the range minus 127, 8 to 127. Suppose you see here, I'll just show you something like var space a colon something like char. I'm trying to exceed the size, some 70,000 I'm giving here. Enter. You got an error. What it's saying? If you exceed the size, it's saying what is that? It's showing in a type mismatch found in and required char. Why? Because up to 65,535 it will accept it. It will be in the range of character. If it exceeds that, then it is by default treated as integer. So if you see this, I'll just show you. If I give 65,535, still this no problem. If I give 36 also, there is a problem. You cannot do that. We cannot exceed the range. That's what the range is meant for. You understand that? Similarly, suppose if I give byte here, byte can take a value up to minus 128 to 127. I can give up to 127, no problem. I give 128, I get an error. You understand now the purpose of range, everything now? Suppose if I don't use data type here, if I say directly some 100,000, then default is what type here? It treats as an integer. If you don't mention data type, it will by default uses what? Integer. Clear? I think I'm showing you practically to understand better. Same thing is applicable for float also. Suppose you see here, I say var colon 10.5. Default it is treated as what? Double. Can you see if I give decimal, it's showing double. Suppose if I put a suffix with small f or capital F, as I had discussed in the yesterday's session, I told you if you want a float literal, it has to be suffixed with the small f or capital F. Okay, now I enter. Now it is showing float here. Can you see this now? But if you want to make it explicit, suppose I say something like this, a colon, it's very, now it's more readable. 10.5. Of course, you get an error here. Why? I cannot give 10.5 here for float. Why? 10.5 is a double type. Double cannot be directly initialized to float. That's why I ask you to suffix it with small f or capital F yesterday. Now it will work. Somebody is asking me a question. Sir, could you explain this clearly why this kind of thing is happening here? So don't worry guys, in the next class I am going to explain about type conversion. In the data type conversion, you understand all the pros and cons. Why we can't initialize double to float? Why we get that kind of errors? What if we exceed the range of a value? Why we are getting some int or something like that? What we have observed now? All that we see in the next session. Understood, no? But I think you got clarity, right? How to declare a variable. Suppose I want a string, something like s colon some string of equal to in double quotes. I say something like Manohar. Enter. Got it right? Suppose I declare a symbol, the symbol can be declared like this. What is that? S colon some. You can also define symbol like this. Some symbol equal to single quote hi. Got it right? Clear now? That escape sequences can be declared as what? They are also characters. They can all escape sequences are single character constants, not string. But they are also char type. Okay. Got an idea about all the data types now clearly? Along with their literals, different types of literals like null values, like escape sequences, like string, multi-line strings, and also what is that? One more is your the symbol literals. Got clarity about all that, right? Before closing, I would like to ask quick questions. What is difference between symbol and string? Please answer in the chat box. So that's really nice. Yeah, good answers. Symbol is for declaring a literal which saves memory, as well as what is that? It is used for better for comparison. Whereas string is an object. String is an object. Okay, that's a good answer from you. And shall I ask a few more questions? What is the unsigned data type in the whole set of data types? Could you answer that? The question, very difficult question, right? Please answer. Char, very nice, very good. All of you, I think almost all of you are able to give me good answers. Nice. Can I ask you a few more questions? How many integer data types are there? 4. How many decimal data types are there? Please type in the chat box. Very quick answers. Come on. Rapid questions, rapid fire questions. Come on. How many decimal data types are there? 2. Float and double. Which is the superclass of all classes in of all data types in Scala? Come on, quick answers. Any, very nice. Which is the parent for all value classes? Any value. Which is the parent for all reference classes? Any ref. Very nice. Okay, that's really nice. I am very happy that all of you are following the sessions. Thank you so much, folks. Okay, I think today we had exceeded more than actual time. That's fine. Thanks for your patience for waiting in the session. And tomorrow we'll continue with what is that? The other topic. We'll see the typecasting, and then we start with operators. Once we finish typecasting, if time permits, we start with operators. But you got clarity, the overall picture about this, which one? Scalar, right? Thank you very much, folks.